A 13-year-old girl disappears on her way home from gymnastics practice in a quiet Italian town. The investigation drags on for years until the killer's dead father cracks the case from beyond the grave, all thanks to his very active love life. What really happened to Yara Gambirasio, and how did her tragic story unravel into one of Italy's most unbelievable crime-solving breakthroughs? Let's recap. It's February 26, 2011, in the small Italian town of Chignolo de Sola. A middle-aged guy is out looking for a spot to fly his model plane. Just a normal day, right? He finds an open field away from the town center, sends his plane up, and then boom, technical issues. The plane crash lands in some tall weeds, so he heads over to retrieve it. That's when he spots what looks like some loose rags on the ground. At first, he doesn't think much of it, until he sees the shoes. Let's rewind 3 months and head 6 miles north to the town of Brembate di Sopra. It's a charming little mountain town about an hour from Milan, near the Swiss border. The kind of place where nothing big ever happens, until it does. It's Friday, November 26, 2010. 13-year-old gymnast Yara Gambirasio leaves home to walk to the gym, just a few hundred meters away. She has a gymnastics competition coming up on Sunday and needs to drop off a stereo with her instructor. Before this tragedy, the name Yara Gambirasio wouldn't have meant much to most people. But if life had gone differently, she might have been known worldwide as an Olympic gold medalist for Italy. But back to that Friday. According to her instructor, Yara spends some time at the gym doing light training and leaves shortly after 6:30 p.m. At 6:44, she sends her last text message to a friend, making plans to meet at 8 a.m. on Sunday before the competition. That's the last time anyone ever heard from the 13-year-old. 7 o'clock comes and goes, and Yara still isn't home. Her family gets more and more anxious, eventually calling the police when her phone keeps going straight to voicemail. The missing persons report lands on the desk of Letizia Ruggeri, a 45-year-old magistrate with a tough-as-nails reputation from her time fighting the mob in Sicily. Within minutes, state officers and military police are flooding into Brembate di Sopra. Bloodhounds quickly pick up Yara's scent, but instead of leading them toward her house, the trail takes them to the small hamlet of Mappello, about 3 miles away. This also matches the location of Yara's final cell phone signal. But Yara has no reason to be there. No friends, no family, no connection to Mappello at all. That's when everyone starts to suspect the worst. She's been kidnapped and possibly killed. Police quickly rule out Yara's family and start wiretapping any cell phones that pinged through Mappello the night she disappeared. That's when they zero in on a Moroccan guy named Mohammed Fikri. On one of the calls, they think they hear him say, "Allah forgive me, I didn't kill her." Huge red flag, right? So they arrest him while he's on his way back to Morocco. Then, to make things worse, they find a blood-stained mattress in the back of his van. It's not looking good for Mohammed. But here's the twist. Another translator listens to the call and realizes he didn't say anything about killing Yara. What he actually said was, "Allah make her answer," probably about Yara not answering her phone. Turns out, those two phrases sound super similar in Arabic, especially over a scratchy phone line. As for the bloody mattress, DNA tests prove it's unrelated to Yara's case. Eventually, Mohammed is cleared, and the search for Yara's real killer goes on. As autumn turns to winter, the hope of finding Yara alive starts to fade. Then in February, our local model plane guy stumbles on the truth no one wanted to face. Yara's decomposing body. Letizia Ruggeri is out skiing when she gets the call. She rushes to the scene and confirms it's Yara. The body is badly decomposed, but the jacket, sweatshirt, and leggings matches what Yara was last seen wearing. They also find Yara's iPod, house keys, and the SIM card from her LG phone, but the phone itself is missing. The autopsy gives investigators more clues to work with. There's lime in her lungs and jute fibers, the stuff used to make rope, on her clothing. The lime and jute point to one thing. Yara's killer either works in construction or she passed through a construction site before her death. Yara wasn't sexually assaulted, although her purple bra is found broken. She has several injuries, including head trauma and multiple cuts forming a sort of X on her back. But investigators don't think those injuries are what killed her. Instead, they think she was left alone to bleed out and eventually died from starvation in the freezing Italian winter. But the most important clue is a male DNA sample found on her underwear. Investigators think the killer might have been injured during a struggle and bled on her clothing. Maybe he attacked her, panicked when things went too far, and ran off. Letizia's team nicknames their suspect Ignoto Uno, Unknown One. Now the mission is clear. Figure out who he is. Police are desperate, taking DNA samples from anyone they can. By this point, they've tested over 22,000 people without a single match. They dig through phone records, wiretap leads, and chase every clue, but nothing sticks. Then Letizia gets a smart idea. She decides to collect DNA at a nightclub near the crime scene. Her logic? Killers often dump victims in areas they know well. Maybe this guy spends his weekends dancing and flirting with young girls. And guess what? Her hunch pays off. One of the samples collected at the club is a near match to Ignoto Uno. The man's name is Damiano Guarinoni, but there's a twist. He's got an airtight alibi. On the day Yara disappeared, Damiano was in South America. It's not Damiano, but the DNA reveals something big. He's a close relative of the killer, maybe an uncle or a distant cousin. Then a connection to Yara's life surfaces. Damiano's mother, Aurora Zani, used to be the Gambirasio family housekeeper. Aurora has known Yara since she was a little girl, visiting their home twice a week for 10 years. She stopped working for them as Yara got older, but insists her relationship with the family was great. She says she left on good terms and had no reason to hurt Yara. But DNA doesn't lie. So Letizia's team starts tapping phones and tailing both Aurora and Damiano. But it's a dead end. Neither had anything to do with Yara's death. Now they're back to square one, but still clinging to their only lead, the DNA. Police spend the next year piecing together the Guarinoni family tree. Their roots lead to the small village of Gorno, about an hour's drive from Yara's hometown. It's a tight-knit place with only about 1,600 residents, and the Guarinoni family is one of the most well-known in town. As they dig deeper, police discover that Damiano Guarinoni has an uncle on his father's side named Giuseppe. Giuseppe was a local bus driver who lived in the area until he died in 1999. You can't question a dead man, so they do the next best thing. They talk to his widow. She helps out by handing over a few old stamps he'd licked, one from his driver's license and another from a postcard. Those stamps are a game changer. Giuseppe Guarinoni is the father of Yara's killer. Finally, some real progress. But tracking down his kids isn't as easy as it sounds, because, as it turns out, Giuseppe was quite the player back in the day. He has 3 legitimate kids, 2 sons and a daughter. One son is a Jehovah's Witness, and the other struggles with a drug problem. But here's the thing. Neither of them is a match for Ignoto Uno, which means only one thing. Somewhere out there is Giuseppe Guarinoni's illegitimate son. Now, instead of hunting for the killer directly, police are on the trail of an older woman, someone who had an affair with Giuseppe and gave birth to his son. A son who went on to murder a 13-year-old gymnast. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, but with a deadly twist. Giuseppe was a total ladies' man with plenty of girlfriends on the side. As a bus driver in the 1960s and 70s, he had no shortage of opportunities to meet young women on their way to work. And here's the kicker. Every May, Giuseppe would spend 2 weeks at a spa south of Milan, conveniently without his wife. You can probably guess what he was up to during those trips. In June 2014, police finally connect the dots and find their missing link, Esther Arzuffi. Back in the 1960s, Esther was a 19-year-old textile worker who lived near Giuseppe Guarinoni and rode his bus every day. Let's just say they got to know each other pretty well. A few years later, in 1966, Esther marries Gianni Bossetti, a quiet guy struggling with psoriasis, arthritis, and depression. Esther, meanwhile, is the total opposite, outgoing, stylish, rocking short skirts, and always changing up her hair color. Here's where it gets messy. Police realize they actually had Esther's DNA from way back in 2012, but thanks to a lab mix-up, her sample was tested against Yara's DNA instead of the killer's. When they finally test it properly, bingo, Esther Arzuffi is confirmed as the killer's mother. Turns out her connection to Giuseppe wasn't just a casual bus ride after all. Esther, despite being married, kept her affair with Giuseppe Guarinoni going for years. In 1970, she gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. Her son, Massimo Bossetti, grew up as a skinny kid with a wild streak. His friends even nicknamed him the Animal. He probably had no idea the man he knew as his father wasn't his biological dad. Fast forward to 2014, and 42-year-old Massimo is a married dad of 3 living in Mapello, the same place where Yara's cell phone last pinged. And are you ready for this? He works as a builder and has a strange problem: constant nosebleeds. Leticia needs his DNA but doesn't want to tip him off, so she gets clever. That summer, her team sets up a fake DUI checkpoint. When Massimo drives through, police make him blow into the breathalyzer. Twice, claiming it's malfunctioning. In reality, they're just making sure they get a solid sample. Nobody's ever rushed to test DNA faster than Letizia Ruggeri did with Massimo's sample. And for good reason. The results come back a perfect match for Ignoto Uno. On June 16, 2014, Massimo Bossetti is arrested and charged with the murder of Yara Gambirasio. And while his DNA is the smoking gun, there are also plenty of pieces of circumstantial evidence linking him to her murder. Massimo wasn't a stranger to Yara's neighborhood. He'd park his car behind her gym and grab food at the pizza shop on her street. Then there's his internet history, which allegedly revealed some creepy searches involving young girls. On top of that, his phone pinged in Brembate de Sopra the night Yara disappeared. It mysteriously went dark at 5:45 p.m. and didn't turn back on until after 7:30 a.m. the next day. Suspicious, right? The court thought so too. On July 1, 2016, Massimo Bossetti was found guilty of Yara's murder and sentenced to life in prison. Despite the verdict, he's never stopped claiming he's innocent. Massimo blames his constant nosebleeds for the DNA evidence and insists someone must have stolen his tools from work. His wife even backed up his alibi, but nobody bought it. But that's not to say there haven't been questions about the DNA evidence. Some reports suggest it was mishandled, fabricated, or even contaminated. Massimo's legal team has repeatedly asked for retests, but there's a problem. The original sample is gone, and rumors online claim it was destroyed on purpose. Massimo's legal team also pointed fingers at Yara's gymnastics instructor, Silvia Brenna. Allegedly, Silvia was seen crying the night Yara disappeared, and according to some reports, her blood was found on Yara's jacket sleeve. And then there's this. Silvia conveniently can't remember why she deleted a bunch of text messages between her and her brother around that time. Suspicious? You decide. These allegations, and plenty more, are explored in the Italian Netflix miniseries, The Yara Gambirasio Case, Beyond Reasonable Doubt. The doc dives deep into the cracks in Massimo's conviction, raising questions about whether he's really guilty. Massimo's family and a growing number of supporters believe he's an innocent man who got framed so the police could wrap up Yara's case and calm the public outrage. After all, this was the most expensive murder investigation in Italian history. Imagine spending all that money and coming up empty. Letizia Ruggeri and her team stand by the DNA evidence that put Massimo away, calling it of excellent quality. As of 2024, Massimo is still behind bars, but he hasn't given up. He's still pushing for a retrial and another chance to have the evidence retested. So, what do you think? Did they get their guy, or is Yara's killer still out there? Let's talk about it in the comments. I'm Chris. Amy and I are here 3 times a week with new recaps, and if you love getting all the crime in half the time, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories like this. And be sure to check out our membership options to see Amy and I dive into crazy cases together. Until next time, take care.